In 1796, at the level of the French progressive conflicts, a youthful French general assumed responsibility for a worn-out, dampened armed force in northern Italy. It was his most memorable order. Many anticipated that he should flop. Rather, in only 1 month, he won his most memorable, splendid mission with amazing self-assurance, strength, and energy. He drove his military to many triumphs, changing the conflict in Europe, winning commendation from a thankful republic, and producing a legend. This is the narrative of Napoleon Bonaparte. First mission. In the beginning of another age, 1992, Europe is dove into struggle by unrest in France. At first, it appears to be this baby republic will be immediately snuffed out by her neighbor, staggeringly France. Sticks on account of mass activation, enthusiastic enthusiasm, and her conventional military influence. In 1795, France possesses the Low Nations, while Prussia and Spain pull out from the conflict, yet the French Republic actually faces a strong alliance of foes, which incorporates the Austrian domain and realms of Piedmont, Sardinia, Naples, and extraordinary England, as well as a traditionalist revolt in the Vaud district of western France in Paris. The most outrageous progressives had been brought down, shipped off the guillotine, as they had sent so many before them. France is currently represented by the Catalogue, a more safe five-man board, which rapidly wins a standing for defilement and failure by the in 1796. They plan a significant military hostile to take their most perilous foe Austria out of the conflict. The two fundamental endeavors will be made along the Rhine by influence, full-armed forces under Broad Jordan and General Morrow. A third exertion, of which considerably less is normal, will be made in northern Italy. The French multitude of Italy is an unfortunate cousin, kept from cash and supplies, deprived of troops to build up French powers on their, yet its fortunes are going to change on the 2nd of Walk, 1996. The registry delegate another commandant to lead the military, perhaps of France's most youthful general, Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon shows up at the multitude of Italy's base camp in Incy on the 25th of spring. He is only 26 years of age. 2 years have passed since he engineered French triumph at the siege of Toulon. From that point forward, his fortunes have been blended a short spell as gunnery commandant in Italy, 10 days in prison when his political benefactors tumbled from influence. He then, at that point, wouldn't serve in the Vaud, battling French traditionalists, prompting a wild joblessness in Paris. Then an uncommon break. 13 Vendémiaire, Paris. A traditionalist horde takes steps to storm the public government. Napoleon is the nearest brought to hand and place accountable for its protection. He scatters the groups with fierce proficiency and is acclaimed deliverer of the transformation. A grateful catalogue elevates Napoleon to general of division and grants him order of the multitude of Italy. On the 9th of spring, he weds his extraordinary love, Josephine dignitary, and leaves for the front 2 days after the fact. There are French officers in Italy with a preferable case to control over Napoleon Serrier, an expert trooper who previously saw activity in the 7 Years' War, 10 years before Napoleon was conceived. On extreme experienced fighter, striking strategist, and serious conservative, and Messina ascended from the positions. Valiant, eager legend of the clash of Lono against the Austrians. The year prior to, every one of the three would later become marshals of Napoleon's realm. For the present, Napoleon appears to these veterans youthful and underqualified, a political arrangement, embarrassingly captivated by his new spouse. Yet there is something about the Corsac, as Emnon noticed his little size and diminutive face didn't place him in support of themselves. Yet when he unfolded his general's cap, he appeared to develop by 2 feet. Napoleon dazzles, most importantly, with his vigorous energy, and he has a lot of to do. His military is coordinated into Messina's high-level watchman of 2 divisions, one drove by a hard-battling Swiss General Lapp, and the other by men whom Napoleon before long chooses is uncouth. The primary body contains the divisions of Oro-Siru and 2 more modest divisions under Mont and Guerre. The cavalry is driven by Broad Stangle, yet the multitude of Italy has been amazingly dismissed by the index. The men are eager and neglected with a couple of units. Nearly rebellion. A few men don't have shoes or flintlocks. Napoleon examines the soldiers and studies reports. He implements discipline and separates spoiled units. He is helped by his guide to Comte Juno Marmon and a dapper cavalry. Colonel Jashimira, as sovereign Napoleon will make two of these men dukes and one a lord. His most significant partner is his new head of staff, General Berger, who assists him with revamping the military stock framework and scours southern France for food transport and scavenge. What is going on starts to improve, yet Napoleon understands what will truly revive his battered divisions. Triumph in fight and the commitment of loot. Napoleon has gone through 2 years concentrating on the circumstance in northern Italy and the historical backdrop of past conflicts. Here he has grown clear, anticipates how the mission should be battled. Now he will set them in motion. Napoleon, with 38,000 soldiers, dwarfs the Piedmonts and the Austrian armed force, yet assuming they consolidate, he will be dwarfed, so he should forestall this no matter what his arrangement bears every one of the signs of what will become known as the Napoleonic specialty of war, an intense, fast development, not against the normal objective Genoa, but rather here he will involve the focal position and prize his foes separated. He realizes that when compromised, the Piedmonts will withdraw on their capital, tying the Austrians on Milan with his adversaries partitioned, unfit to help each other. He can overcome each exhaustively. Napoleon's arrangement will be helped by the delicacy of the Auster-Piedmont union. They respect each other with profound doubt. Following quite a while of music contention, the new Austrian Commandant General Bolo is capable and was once viewed as fiery. Yet he is currently 70 years of age and doesn't know Italy. He is persuaded the French will target Genoa, the port utilized by the English to supply their alliance partners, to such an extent that he dismisses Piedmontese arrangements for close participation. Their soldiers stay dispersed across mountain passes in an overall guard against intrusion. On the 4th of April, Napoleon pushes his central command ahead to Albenga in anticipation of his hostile. Yet Bolu strikes first. On the 10th of April, Austrian soldiers take Vry to disturb the normal French assault on Genoa. The little French post falls back to enlist in Massa's high-level gatekeeper at Savannah. Yet Bolio's obsession with Genoa is wandering right into whatever Napoleon might have had planned. Dio, with the central junction, connect the Piedmonts and Austrian armed forces, is covered by only 8,000 men of Argento's center. Hilly territory implies Bolo can walk to Argento's guide through artificial intelligence in excess of 20 meters toward the north. What's more, Auranto has requests to take French situations at Monet as a redirection for the assault at Vry. Yet the French grip on boldly. Corporal Roche especially separates himself, presenting himself to foe. Discharged to shoot down on the foe, his commandant, Colonel Roman, tells his men, here we should vanquish or kick the bucket. A second, which rapidly enters French military fables. It's the ideal arrangement for Napoleon. The foe's consideration is centered around Vry, and Argento's center has been left hazardously uncovered. He takes care of business, sending L's division to support hung-on troops, while Emna makes an intense night walk across profound gorges in downpour and haze to turn Auranto right. Flanked by sunrise, the Austrians are dwarfed, defeated, and under weighty assault they retreat in disorder. Napoleon orders Massa to continue on Dio, while he directs his concentration toward the Piedmonts. Yet U's development gets held up at Caria. The old palace is held by Piedmonts and Croatian grenadiers. The French send off front-facing assaults into Wilting Shoot and endure many losses. When the colonel of the 18th Demi detachment is killed, a 26-year-old Louis Gabriel Such assumes control over order. I have never seen discharge like it composed morale. Napoleon's at dawn. In spite of courageous obstruction, the tragically dwarfed post gives up the following day, with Sir's division likewise progressing from the south. Piedmontese commandant General K.L.Y. has barely a choice yet to leave his situation at Montolo that very day under Napoleon's careful focus. Emna takes yet While the Al's division moves off to support Oro, hungry French soldiers left Indo go to loot and plunder. Nobody spots Colonel Vukasovic, an extreme Croatian commandant, drawing nearer with 3,000 fortifications. He goes after at first light, steering the French and retaking Dio. Effortlessly, it requires the review of Laup's division, and one more day of weighty battle before Vukasovic can be driven out of a pike charge drove by 27-year-old Colonel and wins specific acclaim. From General Bonaparte, Napoleon has won 3 triumphs in 4 days. The walks and fights have been tiring, yet he has accomplished his most memorable objective. The Austrians are refocusing at man-made intelligence and will before long withdraw to Alexandria. They can offer no help to the Piedmont thus. Broad Colli orders one more withdrawal to a solid, cautious situation behind the Karelia waterway. Napoleon arranges a quick assault, U's division on the right, Syria on the left, Mossow in help. Yet the French under weighty discharge battle to cross the enlarged stream with its profound banks. When Zoria's soldiers at long last get into San Mikkel, they promptly start stealing from the town and are tossed out by a counterattack. Regardless of his prosperity, Cly is still vigorously dwarfed, and fears encompassing the next night. He starts a secret withdrawal to Movie. Yet Napoleon isn't tricked by the phony open-air fires. Watches Kampf validate his premonitions. The Pedonists are pulling back. However, his soldiers are depleted, wet, and hungry. He dispatches them after the escaping foe called soldiers are gotten before they can lay out another guarded line. The daring and famous General D is killed. Retreat goes to course. The French enter Mondovi and win, where finally momentarily they can eat in music. Rests General Colli, his crushed soldiers dissipated, and debilitated demands a truce. Napoleon declines as his soldiers drop from the mountains into the prolific plain of Piedmont. Dejected and starved French warriors presently loot the Italian field uninhibitedly. Brigadier General Zuber is among those baffled by the men's direct. Everything would go quite well in the event that the officers didn't leave themselves to plunder. Not a day passes without certain thieves being shot. Notwithstanding this seriousness, the craziness doesn't stop. The rustic people are equipping themselves. Napoleon censures such way of behaving, yet his orders have restricted influence, particularly as everybody knows Commanders Messina and Oro to be 2 of the best wrongdoers. On the 25th of April, French soldiers enter Krasco, only 30 meters south of the Piedmont's capital town. In the meantime, General Bolo is finally walking to Piedmont's guide. However, he is 7 days late, and when he discovers that Piedmont has open dealings with the foe, he pulls out his soldiers in disdain. Wanting to take up new situations along the Po waterway, Austrian soldiers participate in the loot of Piedmontese towns as they go. Victor Amatus, ruler of Piedmont, Sardinia, sees no choice except for to acknowledge Bonaparte terms for a ceasefire. Piedmont should surrender the essential forts at Cuno and either Alexandria or Tortona, leaving the country practically exposed. The last truce, marked 3 weeks after the fact in Paris, cedes Incy and Savo to France and awards free entry to French armed forces. Napoleon has finished the 4-year battle with Piedmont in under 3 weeks. The multitude of Italy has brief period to settle for the status quo. 4 days after the fact, having gotten 7,000 fortifications and new supplies, it's moving again. Napoleon intends to attack the rich territory of Lombardy, controlled by the ruler of Austria and rout Bolo's military. Yet first, he should cross the Po waterway, which is firmly watched by Austrian powers. It will demonstrate one of Napoleon's most splendid moves. Messina is requested to make obvious arrangements to cross the waterway, close to gathering boats and building weapon batteries. In the meantime, Napoleon has framed another world-class detachment, 5,000 grenadiers, carabiners, and chasers to go about as the military's high-level watchmen under the order of General Delaman. This power is requested to spring quickly east to Penza and cover 40 mil in only 36 hours. They are trailed by Larp's division. Then Oro and the cavalry Bleo gets reports that French soldiers are moving east and starts to redeploy his powers, while staying cognizant that there are as yet French soldiers that could cross the Po as far west as Valencia. This vulnerability makes it unimaginable for him to think his powers. What's more, he's totally misjudged the scale and speed of Napoleon's move. The French advanced watch, with Colonel Lannes leading the pack, crosses the Po on the 7th of May, pursuing off Austrian watches that are the main resistance by the following morning. The greater part of Law, APS, and Ojo's divisions, and the cavalry are across, uniting the French extension head, while Messina and Suyer move to the intersection. However quick as they can, men of General Ledi's division may be the nearest Austrian soldiers. They take up protective situations at Fambio, yet are overpowered by the French assault. That night, Bolo's high-level gatekeeper shows up hoping to build up Lipti. Rather, they bungle into Ella's division in confounded evening. Battling, General Laure is shot dead, conceivably by cordial discharge. Napoleon views him as one of the military's best commanders, and his misfortune, an incredible blow. Bolo, understanding that the French have crossed the Po in power, and presently takes steps to remove him, arranges a fast withdrawal. East Milan is to be forfeited. The incomparable fort of Mana will be his next asylum. The French advent watch is soon in pursuit. On the morning of the 10th of May, they get the Austrian backwatch at Elder. French soldiers pursue the Austrians across town and over the town's 200-yard span over the stream Adda. Yet, when they attempt to follow, they find the extension is cleared by shoot from 14 weapons. Its far end is held by 3 regiments of Croatian infantry. A few more battalion and Rangers groups are behind them for possible later use. Around 6.5 men in all out. Napoleon before long shows up and situate firearms to barrage the Austrians. On the far bank, a gunnery duel seethes for a large part of the midday. Napoleon sends Bonte's cavalry detachment upstream to search for a passage, so they can cross the waterway and flank the Austrian protections. Yet he develops fretful. Massa's division has started to show up from the south, bringing his solidarity up to 15,000 men and 30 weapons. Napoleon gives a discourse to the infantry, provoking them, trying them to take the scaffold, then orders them forward to cries of "Vous!" The solidified 2nd Caravanner Legion drains the charge. They go under heavy discharge from the Austrian firearms. Yet, encouraged on by Napoleon Berthier, Messina Lannes, and others, French infantry flood across, under, and around the scaffold. Confronted with this compelling attack, the Austrian cutting edge disintegrates, and with French cavalry across the waterway toward the north, the remainder of the Austrian back monitor starts an efficient withdrawal. 5 days after his triumph at Lodi, Napoleon drives his military into the city of Milan. They are invited by cheering groups. However, in actuality, Italians are profoundly isolated in their perspectives towards the French. After Lodi, French troopers have another epithet for their overall LTI caporal, the little corporal. It's a term of fondness, since he takes care of business in any event. Going for the goal, the occupation of an ordnance corporal in a month, Napoleon has changed a conflict-fatigued, rumpled, and discouraged armed force into a triumphant battling force, overflowing with his dear and enthusiastic for additional victories, while he, in his most memorable mission, has exhibited remarkable energy, dominance of detail, splendid military instinct over all, dauntless self-conviction. This quality rouses his fighters to put their lives in extreme danger for brilliance, for the Republic, and for the man they will one day recognition, their sovereign.